Tuesday, and welcome back to our podcast conversation about change as we find ourselves here at Christ Redeemer in a season of change. And as we find ourselves in this last season within our podcast conversation about the seasons of life, I pray that for those of you who are in a season of change right now or reflecting upon a season of change, that this day is filled with grace. For the last 6 weeks, we talked about how on every Tuesday, we talk about how every season has a particular feel. It has a particular personality to it. And for many of us, the season of change can feel in one of two, you might say, extremes. For some of us, change can feel liberating, either because what we're leaving behind in the change was something that was very difficult for us. And so the season of change can feel liberating, right? You've been set free from the things that you were worried about, and it can be filled with a lot of grace and freedom. Or for some of us, the season of change brings with it new possibilities, and there's a new horizon of all that can happen. Perhaps for some of us, change is actually something that's comforting because of the limitless possibilities of what might happen as things change. On the other hand, for some of us, the personality, the feel of a season of change can bring a lot of anxiety. Again, as we said yesterday, how we feel about the season of change is often influenced by how the thing that ended, you might say. You might look back at what was ending as something new is beginning, and if that which was ending, if the previous season that was ending was filled with that transition, if that ending was filled with a lot of tension or grief or suddenness or shock, then this new season can be one that can be very difficult for us because it feels like there's uncertainty or there's a lack of security. There's a lot of unknown. And for some of us, that brings with it lots of fear, looking for something to hold on to, right? A season of change can feel either really, really good, or it can feel really, really, let's say, scary. Each of us carries in us our own particular experience of change. And wherever you find yourselves within this season, it's not necessarily as important what you're feeling as it is where you're going with that. And that's just a word of encouragement to you today. Emotions are emotions, and they are what they are. You don't need to be afraid of them, and we don't have to manufacture them. They are what they are. Whether we are excited or whether we are nervous, that's just an indication of something deeper stirring deep within us. And it's not as much of a concern of what you're experiencing. If you're afraid, that's okay. If there's anxiety, that's okay. If there's questions about the unknown, that's okay. It's not about what we're experiencing. It's about where we're going with that. And that's the important thing for us right now, to go to the Lord with everything that is in your heart so that He can be with you. If you're looking for something to pray with today that might help you in the season of change, I would encourage you to go with Luke chapter 12, verses 22 to 32. Again, that's Luke chapter 12, verses 22 to 32. Let that be something that you can rest in today. Tomorrow, as well as Thursday, as we often do, we'll talk about what the season of change is trying to teach us and what it might be trying to accomplish in us. Let the Lord be with you today in the midst of trust, as we're going to hear in Luke chapter 12, until we have that conversation tomorrow.